less than 60 days to the NFL season, so we have a lot of news to get through. So let's begin. Now, first off, it's not the best news to start with, but we're going to have to talk about it anyway. Barkevious Mingo. Barkevious Mingo was let go by the Atlanta Falcons last week, and the reason why was because of an indecency charge that happened actually almost about a month ago. Now, this decision was bound to happen, really, more or less. It was more of, if they don't get rid of him, then it puts you in a scenario as if, well, you are okay with him doing that. Where if you get rid of him, it's showing you're not. But the question that I have is what took so long in that decision, because I guess it was because Barkevious Mingo signed a one-year deal with the Falcons about only in March, around the beginning part of March. So it was a very strange situation to be in, to be like, oh, we have to let him go now. There's no choice. We got to. Moving on, as we'll have a little bit more to discuss on a similar situation later in the show, as the Washington football team is not going to use the nickname Warriors. Now, this is no shocker due to the fact of the ongoing situation that has with the Native American heritage of it being of calling something like that, like what the Washington football team was called before, was considered racist. Same thing goes here. Now, granted, I went to a school and their mascot was, we were called the Warriors, but the logo was an actual Native American. They changed the logo before I got out of school. So what happened was, it was such a scenario that even at that time, and that was a few years ago, when they made that decision. So you can see what Washington's going through, but them not being able to really be called the football team after this puts them in a very much a difficult position. Now, we'll get to some more nicknames that they could use later in the show, but they are not going to use the nickname Warriors. N'Keal Harry, a wide receiver for the New England Patriots, has requested a trade. Well, let's slow down for a second. Not him, his agent. His agent said N'Keal is a great receiver, a great deep ball threat, and a great jump ball threat. Let's slow down a little bit. He's been in the league for 2 years. He's had 68 passes attempted that have gone to his direction. The problem is, we have not seen really the jump ball threat, and we've not seen the deep ball threat. We've maybe seen a handful of times. The problem with N'Keal Harry is this. It's not the fact that he's not a good player. It's the fact that we haven't seen it. N'Keal Harry is more like a person when they go to cook something and a fire starts. That's the problem with N'Keal. He's the guy. He is the fire. And when people are pouring oil on the fire, it's supposed to get bigger. With the problem with N'Keal Harry, it's not. It's not getting bigger. It's not doing anything. That is the problem with N'Keal Harry. He got better last year, but they were decimated with injuries. And with the spending spree that they went on to, which we'll get to in a few minutes from now, he would be less involved than anyone. So, now the situation is, does he play with the New England Patriots in 2021, or does he go to another organization? Patrick Mahomes was talking about his toe injury that he suffered last year, and he said the toe is feeling great, and that they're ready to make a Super Bowl push. Now, if the reason why they asked him that is because of this. The foot injury that happened, he got surgery on it after the Super Bowl loss. He got surgery on it like a week later. Then after that, he was in a boot for nearly 4 months. So unless it was worse than what they thought, or that something happened to it. He was in the boot way longer than normal, that you're normally supposed to be with that kind of an injury. So it questions his durability as they face the Cleveland Browns in Week 1. It questions his durability, how, if he's going to play the aggressive style that he does, how does he perform at that style if he can't go through a season and postseason healthy? Because, let me explain it to you. This is the best way I can explain it. Everyone who goes through an NFL season gets hurt. They always get hurt. They're sore. Their body is starting to react to the abuse and pressure that it's having to deal with. And what ends up happening is you hope, well, yes, they got hurt, but you hope they don't get injured. Mahomes has gotten injured. And he's in that scenario of now, do we trust his durability, or should we be less aggressive in our play calling and let him just do the simple things so he's not forced to do all these magical things and get himself hurt? And now we have to go to a backup who is not as good, and we're now in trouble because we didn't want to be simple. Cam Newton, the quarterback for the New England Patriots, was talking about his shoulder injuries, in which he said, I've played through shoulder injuries for years. And that's fair, because since the Super Bowl loss to the Denver Broncos in 2015, he's not been the same guy. There was something always off, and he looked more now like a shell of himself than he has in recent years. But he's been hurt. He is going through the same thing with kind of like what Patrick Mahomes is, where we're starting to see the decline of, yes, he was talented, but we're starting to see the decline of his abilities, and we have to question, is he that same guy anymore? The thing that made Tom Brady so great was he started as a quarterback that ran quite a bit, and then he became more of a pocket guy because his body was starting to break down. And that's what happened. He changed, and he excelled his career, and it made his career go 20 years longer than it probably could have. That's the same situation that Cam is in, same situation Patrick Mahomes is in. In this game, do you want to be good for a short period of time or have the longevity and potentially make that your whole career as a very long process that, yeah, there might be some bad moments, but there's going to be some great ones too. Moving to his teammate, actually, Stephon Gilmore was talking about his contract, and he said, I just want to be paid what I'm worth. I understand that, but let's go through this. Jalen Ramsey is making the most. He's the highest paid cornerback in the league right now. He's making $20 million average, roughly, for his average per year. The problem is, Stephon Gilmore partially torn his quad last year. The question is he that same guy that he was when he won the Defensive Player of the Year? I don't know. I can't explain that because I've questioned that since he won that award, he has not really been the same guy. So, is he going to make that much money? No. But they said, according to what Gilmore said, he said that they were going to discuss this before training camp. Well, training camp's in a few weeks. They better figure it out in a hurry, or else you're going to have one of the better cornerbacks in the free agent market next year. Chiefs Frank Clark was arrested about a month ago with gun possession. The problem with this is the second time it's happened. Now, the NFL, I'm not saying the NFL will do this, But in my opinion, they should. They gotta suspend him. They gotta suspend him, at least for the first 2 games of the year. Because even if he's not convicted of it, or even if he just has to pay a fine for it, this is the second time in 3 months. We're in a scenario, as of now, that he's a great football player, but the problem that we have is he's with how he conducts his personal life and getting caught by the cops and certain little things like this. It questions everything. And if he was to go to another team, would he do that? And now you got that in owners and general managers' mind of, we want to bring him Frank Clark, but we can't do that now because he's had some problems with the law, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to go in that direction. And so he can lose money and a job opportunity for that. So I think the NFL should just nip this in the butt and just go and say, hey, you know what? We're going to suspend you 2 games. We got to. Because we didn't do it before and it happened again. We got to do it. Larry Fitzgerald was talking about his future in the NFL. Larry Fitz is 37 years old, going to be 38. In which he said he's undecided about his NFL future. And that he doesn't know what's going to happen. Now, I feel like if I was in his situation, which I'm not in his situation at all. But the problem that I have if you're Larry Fitzgerald is, can you perform still at that Fitzgerald level? The difference with this is he's now like the 4th or 5th wide receiver. There's 4 receivers ahead of him before you get to him. There's DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella. Now it's, do I want to come back age 37 and continue to do this? And we'll just have to wait and see what that may be. But it's the same thing with the Aaron Rodgers situation, where he said when he was playing the match, when he was in the match against Tom Brady, that he's going to decide his 2021 plans in a couple weeks. And I don't know exactly what that means, because he said that last week. Does that mean this week? Does that mean next week? Because the longer he goes, they start going into training camp. Now, there's no question that he's in shape. The question is, will he come back? If I'm Aaron, I would, if I was able to convince them that you're going to trade me before deadline. Doubt that, but to me, you either make one last-ditch effort for it, or you say, I'm going to sit out the rest of the year. Because now I robbed them of them seeing me against Patrick Mahomes, at least in a Green Bay uniform. So it puts them in a very interesting scenario. Now, moving on, I had to get my piece of paper before all these nicknames I have to read. Now, I picked the best ones. I tried to, anyway. At least these are more important to me. You can get the whole list at cbssports.com, in which the ones I picked that were good for the Washington football team were the Brigade, the Ambassadors, the Commanders, and the Monarchs. Because there were some crazy nicknames that I just would never give to a team, because it's almost humiliating. The funniest one, in my opinion, was the Demon Cats. You lose all credibility once you call yourself a Demon Cat. I'm just sorry, it's just the way it is. Speaking about the Washington football team, Ryan Fitzpatrick said the offense will be tough to defend, and I agree with that. You bring in Curtis Samuel, you bring in Lamar Miller to help out in the run game. You also bring in Adam Humphries, who's played well in his career. The problem, if you excuse me, that if you're the Washington football team, is Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's never played in the playoff game. He'll get you twice a year, but he has never played in a playoff game. And in this division, you've consistently gone through many quarterbacks. It's just the way it goes. In this division, everyone beats up on each other. So if you can come out standing, you're lucky. You're considered very lucky in this division because everyone beats up on each other. So, yes, the offense may be hard to defend, but the question is, will Fitzpatrick play at a high level at his age, which he is 38 years old? Ex-Steeler Anthony Trillo, I believe is how it's said. If I'm not, tell me how to say it in the comments. Has announced his retirement. He announced it over the weekend via Instagram. He's 28 years old. Played 6 years in the NFL. Was drafted by the Steelers. Played 5 years with the Steelers. Signed with the Saints last year. Was put on their practice squad. Then this offseason signed with the Denver Broncos in a 1-year contract. And now has announced his retirement. Now, granted, I have to agree. This is an average career length. That is what the career is predicted. You play about 4 to 6 years. Quarterback, it's 4 years. It's more like 2 years at quarterback, but 4 years for an average career. The question is, he's a backup linebacker. How good will he be? And anything else they do. But congratulations on a great career. But here's my question for you. Do you think Larry Fitzgerald should come back for his 18th season in the NFL? You decide.